In this section, I will expose some shocking examples of how Atira received preferential treatment for housing contracts, used restricted funds for property purchase, and bypassed proper approval channels. First, let's talk about how Atira got preferential treatment for housing contracts. According to a forensic audit by Ernst & Young, Atira received more than $100 million in funding from BC Housing between 2017 and 2020. This was more than any other nonprofit housing provider in the province. The audit found that Atira CEO Janice Abbott, who is married to the former CEO of BC Housing, Shayne Ramsay, used her personal relationship to influence funding decisions and secure contracts for Atira. For example, she directly approached senior members of BC Housing for funding requests, without going through the standard approval process. She also received confidential information from her husband about BC Housing's plans and strategies. The audit concluded that this created a conflict of interest and a lack of transparency and accountability. Second, let's talk about how Atira used restricted funds for property purchase. The audit revealed that Atira used $2 million in repayable funds from BC Housing to help fund a property purchase in 2019. These funds were supposed to be used only for operating expenses and capital repairs of existing buildings. However, Atira did not inform BC Housing about this transaction, nor did it obtain its consent or approval. The audit also found that Atira assigned an operating agreement for a women's supportive housing program to a credit union as additional security for a mortgage. This was done without BC Housing's knowledge or consent and violated the terms of the agreement. Third, let's talk about how Atira bypassed proper approval channels. The audit found that Atira made several decisions and transactions that were not in accordance with BC Housing's policies and procedures. For instance, Atira purchased a property in 2018 without conducting a proper due diligence or obtaining an independent appraisal. It also sold a property in 2019 without notifying BC Housing or seeking its approval. Moreover, Atira transferred assets and liabilities between its subsidiaries without BC Housing's oversight or approval. These actions showed a lack of governance and financial management by Atira. These are just some of the examples of how Atira abused its power and position as BC's largest nonprofit housing provider. These actions have undermined the public trust and confidence in BC Housing and its partners. They have also put at risk the well-being and safety of thousands of residents who rely on Atira's services.